but he enters the afternoon as a disbeliever. The one who sits at that time is better than the one who stands. The one who stands at that time is better than the one who walks. The one who walks at that time is better than the one who runs fast. The companions asked, "What do you command us?" The messenger of Allah Shallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "Be you saddles in your homes." Hr Abu Dawud, Al-Fitan wa Al-Malahim, Hadith No. 4242. Foreign vocabulary. Allahs, the plural of halas, which is a cloth that is spread underneath a garment and is always close to it. It is also said that halas is a garment that is placed on the camel's back, under the saddle and saddle pad. What is meant by the words of the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, is that you should stay in your homes and keep quiet, so that you do not fall into fitna. Explanation: it is possible that this hadith refers to the fitna that took place during the Umayyad and Abbasid dynasties, or during the final period of the Islamic Caliphate Khilafah Rashida. But it is also possible that the fitna described in this hadith is general and includes all fitna that result in bloodshed among Muslims and the seizure of their property. The hadith also instructs Muslims to keep away from fitna, not to take it lightly, and to restrain their hands, tongues, and actions during the time of fitna. Moreover, he should stay in his house when fitna is rampant, in order to ensure the safety of his religion. The fitna that leads to bloodshed and turning people from Islam to disbelief must have arisen from the fitna of doubt that dwells in people's hearts, so that whoever falls into it will not be able to separate truth from falsehood. Hence, the safest thing to do in this case is to stay away from it and stay at home, especially in the case of a fitna in which Muslim blood is shed. Abu Umama, may Allah be pleased with him, reported that the Messenger of Allah, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him, said, "There will be a fitna in which a person enters the morning as a believer and enters the evening as a disbeliever, except for those whom Allah revives with knowledge." Sunan ibn Majah 1305, whose Muhakkik said, in Aziz Owaid, the isnad is da'if. Explanation: this hadith indicates the importance of knowledge and its benefits in keeping Muslims away from the effects of fitna, and the destruction that fitna causes to the hearts of people. Perhaps one of the most important pieces of knowledge that every Muslim should memorize at the time of the fitna is the knowledge of the fitna and the signs of the last day, and the knowledge that will enable him to know clearly the path that he should take between the fitna, so that he does not jump into the pit that many people are jumping into. The Muslim must also know about evil, its causes and motivations, so that he does not fall into it. This is why the most common question that Hudhayfa, may Allah be pleased with him, asked was about the evils that Muslims might fall into, because he feared that he might fall into them. 2. Fitna Satan. Satan's fitna contains both lust and doubt. However, this fitna is closer to the door of shubhat, because a person's fall into the fitna of lust initially only occurs and is caused by the shubhat of Satan, which contains incitement that adorns the world in the heart of a believer and removes the desire and longing for the hereafter from him. Then Iblis and his army direct this person only towards the life of this world by prioritizing shubhat towards the unseen. When this doubt is firmly established in the heart of a believer, he will be inclined towards the world and its desires, prioritizing the immediate and putting off the delayed. From another direction, after the fall of man into the valley of lust, the devil tries to realize his goal of bringing man down into shubhat. That is their real goal. That is their unified goal, as well as the biggest element that Satan seeks to realize through the spread of 4 types of fitna shubhat, namely raising doubts in the hearts of Muslims about the apostolic mission, the one who sent the messenger, and the promise of the hereafter. Jabir, may Allah be pleased with him, reported that the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said, "Verily, the devil has despaired of being worshipped by those who pray in the Arabian Peninsula, but he still tries to spread sedition among them." Sahih Muslim, Shifa al-Qiyamah wa al-Jannah wa an-Nar. Hadith No. 2812. We say, this hadith describes the character of Satan's power in an Islamic environment that absorbs the teachings of monotheism. Especially in the Arabian Peninsula, the peak of Satan's power is to incite enmity, hatred, and division between Muslims. In this hadith, there is also a hint about the importance of prayer to ward off the snares of the devil. Because the devil's despair of human worship of him only applies when Muslims are still people who diligently pray. Satan always intervenes in the affairs of Muslims by stirring up despicable doubts and reducing the parameters of a Muslim's relationship with his fellow Muslims, his view of the world, and undermining his preparation for the hereafter. Jabir, may Allah be pleased with him, reported that the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said, "Verily, the throne of the devil is above the sea. Then he sends his army until they spread fitna against people. The best army in the sight of the devil is the one that has the greatest fitna among them." Sahih Muslim, Shifa, al-Qiyamah, wa al-Jannah, wa an-Nar. Hadith. No. 2813. Jabir radiyallahu anhu reported that the Messenger of Allah, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him, said, "Verily, the devil places his throne on water. Then he sends his hosts. The closest of his army to him is the one who has the greatest fitna among them. One of them came and said, 'I have done such and such.' Satan said, 'You have done nothing.' Then another of his soldiers came and said, 'I will not leave that man until I have divorced him from his wife.' He said, then Satan said, 'You have done your best.' Al-Amasi said, 'I thought Iblis said, continue your efforts.' Sahih Muslim, Shifa, al-Qiyamah, wa al-Jannah, wa an-Nar. Hadith no. 2812. We say, these two hadiths hint at a covert and organized war waged by the first archenemy of mankind. In both hadiths there is also a description of the headquarters of this war, which is the sea. The two hadiths also contain the amazing description that there are many lessons and teachings that Satan does, in the form of methods of misdirection that must be carried out by his army. They also reveal that Satan's assignment is similar to sending an expeditionary force on a special mission, then returning to the commander's headquarters to report the results. These two hadiths clearly indicate the connection between this fitna among Muslims and the fitna spread by Satan, who is busy strengthening the noose of fitna to deepen and plant his influence in Islamic society. The second hadith shows the biggest fitna in Satan's view, which is to tear apart the Muslim family, because the family is considered the core of society. This great fitna, as we have seen, is spread by the armies of Satan, both from among the jinn and humans. Each one of them, the jinn and the human devils, helps the other to strengthen the spread of this fitna among the Muslims. It is for this reason that we are not surprised at the attention paid by the West to women's rights and freedom in Muslim countries. Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, reported that the Messenger of Allah, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him, said, "Satan comes to one of you and asks, 'Who created this? Who created this?' until he asks, 'Who created your Lord?' When he reaches that question, let him seek refuge with Allah, and let him stop." Sahih Bukhari, Bad al-Khalq, Hadith no. 3276. We say, this hadith is mentioned to explain some of the devil's temptations from the door of doubt, namely, inciting people to persist in questioning various issues, which ultimately results in the questioner becoming a disbeliever. What greater temptation is there than for a person to go from the circle of faith to the circle of disbelief? This hadith is the main evidence that warns every Muslim against the whispers of the devil that enter the heart in the form of feelings and understandings that contain lust in religion, both in matters of Aqidah and general teaching. This hadith also contains a remedy for the satanic doubts that possess the believer's heart, which is not to be long-winded in asking questions. This is because it strengthens the attack of the shaitan and does not add anything to the person except confusion. This is the most important directive in protecting oneself from the fitna of doubt, which is not to follow the whispers of the devil and not to fall into them. Whether these doubts are the result of the tricks of the jinn, who play with feelings, or the actions that are the invitation of the human devils. Isha, may Allah be pleased with her, reported that she heard the Messenger of Allah, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him, say, "Verily, the angel descends to the clouds and mentions what has been decided in the heavens. So the devils listen to him and then inspire the sorcerers. Then the sorcerers mix the news with the 100 lies of their own." Sahih al-Bukhari, Shifa Iblis wa Junadihi, Hadith No. 3276. We say, this is one of the sides of the fitna shubhat that is confirmed by Satan of the human kind and Satan of the jinn kind, by mixing truth with falsehood, lies with truthfulness. 3. The streak and abundance of fitna. Hudhaifa, may Allah be pleased with him, reported that he heard the Messenger of Allah, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him, say, "Various fitna are inflicted on people's hearts like a mat woven piece by piece. Whichever heart is fully permeated with the fitna, a black spot is inscribed on it. Whichever heart denies it, a white spot is inscribed on it." So the human heart becomes two types of hearts. The white heart is like a smooth stone, so no fitna can harm it as long as there is logit and earth, while the other heart is a murky black heart, like an upturned cup or pot, which does not recognize the good and does not deny the bad, except what is fed to it from its lusts. Sahih Muslim al-Iman, Hadith No. 144. Explanation. This hadith contains a hint relating to the large amount of fitna that destroys the hearts of Muslims. The Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, likens the enormity of this fitna and its constant persistence to the planks of matting that are prepared for weaving. When one mat is finished, the next mat must follow immediately, and so on until the completion of the mat. So it is with the fitna, permeating the hearts of people in a relentless manner, one after the other, as the slats of a woven mat are strung together. Or this hadith indicates the arrival of successive fitna that are interconnected with each other, like the slats of a mat that are tightly attached to each other. This hadith indicates the effect of these various fitna on the heart, which determines whether a person is righteous or corrupt. The effect of the fitna in relation to the acceptance and denial of the heart is twofold. The first type, a heart that is affected by fitna gradually, so that eventually fitna permeates all parts of it, meaning that fitna has totally overtaken the heart to the extent that there is no room for faith in the heart. This is the heart that the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, described with two characteristics: a blackened heart with a hint of white, and an upturned heart. An upturned heart is one that is distorted and incapable of accepting the truth, and no good or wisdom can attach itself to it. This type of heart is like an overturned vessel that cannot hold any water, because it has been turned upside down. This type of heart turns into a vessel that is not ready at all to accept even a little truth. Moreover, this kind of heart is definitely unable to distinguish between truth and falsehood. If the owner of such a heart takes hold of a matter in which there happens to be some truth, then his action is only in accordance with his lust, not because of the truth that is in that matter. The meaning of the hadith is that the one who has an upturned heart will always follow his lusts, deliberately plunge himself into fitna, or throw himself into fitna. Whether the fitna is in the form of wealth, women, shubhat, lust, or blood, then he is influenced by the fitna that he is involved in, so that he willingly and happily commits various sins. And in the end, his heart is consumed by all the sins that he has committed, and he is always in tyranny after that. If he continues in this state, then he is completely fitna, and the light of Islam disappears from him without a trace. His heart becomes completely closed to the truth, mute to speak the truth, or too hard to be affected by the truth. The second type, a heart that denies the fitna. This type of heart was described by the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, as protected from fitna and unaffected by it. Hence, an unmutilated heart becomes white, indicating the presence of a light that always illuminates it. Furthermore, for this heart, truth is separated from falsehood in between, with a very clear boundary. The nature of this type of heart is not limited to being white and luminous, but it is also described as resembling a smooth stone, to which not the slightest dust is able to stick, and which is not defiled by the slightest dirt. That is, if the heart has become smooth, it will eventually become a heart that is not affected by the various fitna that exist, and no dust and dirt of fitna can stick to it. Abdullah ibn Amr ibn Ash radiyallahu anhuma reported that the Messenger of Allah, may Allah's peace and blessings be upon him, said, "Verily, there was no prophet before me, except that he was charged with the duty of instructing his people in the good of which he was aware, and threatening them with the evil of which he was aware. Verily, this ummah of yours was made safe by its early people, and calamity will befall its late people, as well as some things that you deny. Fitna comes and some weaken others. A fitna comes and a believer says, 'This is my destruction.' Then the first fitna disappears and a new one comes. Another believer says, 'This. So whoever wants to be kept out of hell and admitted into paradise, let him strive that death may come to him while he believes in Allah and the last day. Let him come to the people whom he loves to come to. Whoever pledges allegiance to the Imam, let him give allegiance to the Imam with all his hand and all his heart, and let him obey him to the best of his ability, and if someone else comes to take away his allegiance, then you should cut his throat.'" Sahih Muslim, Al-Amara, Hadith No. 1844. Foreign vocabulary, Euro Co. It means that some of it became soft. That is, its effect became light, because of the magnitude of the fitna that came after it. It is also said that the meaning is that some of them are similar to others. It is also said that the meaning is that some of them lead others with beauty and persuasion. Explanation. Islam will be afflicted with trials in the form of abundant fitna and various affairs, and various calamities,